Hi there, Adam here. Today I got in an iPhone 5 for review. Nah, just kidding. This is actually an Android app from KXM Interactive. And the really cool thing is it's a great way to freak out those iOS fanboys that you might know. Funny thing is about iOS fanboys, we don't really have any fanboys in the Android ecosystem. You've got your noobs, you've got your developers, and you've got those who are willing to learn. There are a few fanboys out there, but not too much. Mostly it's just pride. Today we're going to do an XDA unboxing on the Aura Design LifePad 1026. So, let's get started. So, here we have the 10.4 inch development kit by Aura Design, and let's open the box. Inside, we have the LifePad 10.4 inch. Here we have the return policy, source code policy, and support policy. The important thing to note here is that the support is all provided by community. Here we have the source code disk, charging adapter, mini USB Type-C cable, and quick start guide. So let's turn this thing on to verify it works. And we can see our Android 4.0 interface. We'll turn it right back off. Alright, so we'll start by removing these two screws, here and here. Next, we'll use a case opener tool to separate the monitor from the back panel. Now we'll disconnect the touchscreen connector and the tape. Next, we'll remove the connector for the display. Now we can free the Wi-Fi antenna, which is glued in place, and we'll remove 5 screws securing the main board to the back panel. Next, we'll cut the glue holding these two connectors in, and we can free up some of this tape. We'll remove these two connectors here. I'm seeing an unpopulated connector here and associated pinouts for 3G. There is no shielding on this board, nor is there any on the back of the case, which would suggest to me that this may be prone to noise. There is no conformal coating over the board, which means that if it's dropped, it's possible that these components can come loose. Now that's always possible, but conformal coating always reduces that. The UART port on this device is pretty well located in a very easily accessible spot. We have here ground, TX from the board, RX to the board, and 1.8 power that's active only when the board is on. This device does not charge over USB. It charges from a barrel connector. Now the barrel connector is located next to and is smaller than the headphone jack, which means you can accidentally plug the barrel connector into the headphone jack. Now that's a slight annoyance. It's nothing going to damage the equipment at all. The edge of the barrel connector is actually insulated, so that prevents it from actually arcing or causing any kind of problem. So let's hook up to that UART we were talking about earlier. We're going to start by tinning these wires. Next we'll want to tin the square pad on the board and the two next to it, which are TX and RX. Now we can join our ground and signal wires to the board. Now, because I've chosen solid core wire here, it's possible that it can pull the pads off the board, so we're going to tape that down just for a little bit of extra security. So you might be wondering, well, what's UART used for? What's it all about? Well, UART is a development tool, and you can use it to examine the bootloader output as well as the kernel output. Now, say when you're developing a kernel and the device just doesn't start, well, what do? You build another kernel. Or just give up. So what UART does is it gives you the diagnostic tools that you need. Now there's a lot of other things. I use UART to find out more about the device. You can find out a lot about a device using UART. For example, so what I've got here is a bus pirate hooked up to the device. I've got the TX line hooked up to the RX line hooked up to the TX, and ground is grounded to the device. So now we have some communication going on. Now here I've put up Minicom, and I'm going to talk with the bus pirate to get communications established. We're going to hit M for mode, select UART, which is number 3, 115200 bits per second, option number 1, 8, none, option number 1 stop bit, receive polarity is option number 1, and output drain type is option number 1. Now we'll run script 3, and we are sure we want to run that, and we'll turn the device on. Now here we can see the kernel beginning to boot. So looking at this log from here to here, we can see that there is some sort of a bootloader message, and then we begin U-boot, which is pretty much standard in Android. We can see that this device has 512 megs of DDR memory. The processor is made by Amlogic, and it's an M1 processor. This device has 4 gigabytes of NAND memory, and the partitions are created by the bootloaders right here at this point. The LCD screen is 1024 by 768 pixels at 24 bits resolution. Right here is where the kernel starts, and from here you can see all the time-stamped debug messages from the kernel. This would be the same as a demessage, but like I was saying earlier, it's very useful if you can't get your kernel to boot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn the unit back on and then stop the boot sequence by pressing enter. And as you can see, we get a prompt. Help. Shows all the commands that we can use. Now the most interesting command is generally going to be print environment, the print env. This prints all the environmental variables that controls the boot sequence. And as you can see, here are all of our environmental variables. Now the LifePad 1026 is a pretty easy device to work with. I'm going to give it a rating of try it at home, especially if you're a developer. When I started looking at this device, I found quite a few copyright problems. Things just not quite being up to GPL standard, and originally I was going to go off on about a 5-minute rant on the GPL and its importance and openness and all that. But I contacted the company, Aura Design, and they are going to have all of that fixed. It should have been fixed Monday morning. On an administrative note, oh, just a second, I gotta get my administrative gear on. There. On an administrative note, XDA TV is looking for more hosts. If you're comfortable in front of a camera and you like talking tech, well, contact Jimmy McGee. I'd like to thank you for joining me on my bi-weekly show. I'd like to thank Aura Designs for sending in this tablet. Don't forget to add me to your circles on Google+, and you can find me in the forums. I'm Adam Outler for XDA TV.